Welcome back to JW World News. My name is Vern, and today, which is June 8th, 2023, today's date, we will be covering problems facing jw.org around the world. Now, some of this news is actually old news, but for many who are just coming out of the organization, perhaps are PMO, this is perhaps new news. And to have it all summarized as good as what they did on avoidjw.org. So this is where the news is coming from, and then we'll touch on a little bit of what's happening here in Canada with the class action against Jehovah's Witnesses, and how now that's opened up so that this class action is available to all that are affected in Canada. We're going to discuss this in a few minutes. First of all, let's go on to avoidjw.org, and we're looking at an article that they put out called Problems Facing JW.org. And we're going to cover this article. Now, if you want to go into depth, they have a lot of links in this article. We're not going to look at the links, but I will link this below in the descriptions, and you can go on and check this out for yourselves. From what I can see, this article was put up about 2018. There's some responses on it, and you can go on and leave some responses yourself. Some of the responses are quite interesting. So if you have not seen avoidjw.org, you can take a look at it. They have a news section as well. And this is under the news section, Problems Facing JW.org. So thanks again to avoidjw.org. Thanks for all your hard work. And they did a really good job, the writers, on putting this together. So I'm going to try my best to read through this. So here it is. It says there is a question regarding the longevity of jw.org given the events of the past few years. And the following is just my opinion and observations based on events from the past year. Remember, this is back in 2018. 2 years ago, JW.org implemented a 5-year cost reduction program in which they asked all branches to cut costs by a minimum of 10% up to 25% as a preferred number. In the spring of 2015, Stephen Lett asked for donations after stating that jw.org had more money going out than coming in. 6 months later, in a private seminar, branch officials announced that Lett's plea resulted in $30 million extra dollars in donations, but this would not stem their financial issues and would continue with layoffs and cutbacks. As many of you know, the cutbacks were significant. Aside from the Bethel layoffs, all non-essential Bethel projects were either canceled or put on hold. Watchtower headquarters asked branches to sell as much equipment as they could liquidate, including heavy equipment, printers, etc. All monies were directed at finishing Warwick and then selling off their cranes and millions of dollars worth of vehicles and other high-priced tools right down to a $5 screwdriver. Meanwhile, Watchtower purchased 4 $8,000 scanners. The purpose: to scan all documents located in Brooklyn, retaining only the hard copies they were required to keep by law. Watchtower was spending tens of thousands per year to New York City just to maintain their tunnel and air bridge space between buildings. This was not a tax, it was a fee paid because New York owns the underground and the airspace. Moving to Warwick eliminated those costly payments. So New York charged a fee for all those tunnels hooking Bethel when they were downtown New York. And that's a big reason why they sold, it looks like. Now it says branches around the world are struggling to keep up with their own accounting procedures. In South Africa, over 1,400 congregations struggled to file their government-mandated tax returns required of each congregation. Most congregations have not filled returns for 2 to 4 years, primarily because local elders do not understand how to file returns and are, quite frankly, not interested in the business aspect of this religion. These elders are being retrained and have been called disobedient by the branch. JW.org has been spinning the cutbacks as simplification and have coerced dozens of those who lost their full time jobs to give testimonials about how happy they were to accept their new assignment in the field. Translation: they are on their own. No health care, no jobs, no training. They are told to just go and pioneer. Back to the article. In Namibia, the governments have denied Watchtower's plea to remove itself from employer status, since this forces Watchtower to pay social security benefits to all full-time workers, such as Bethelites. This has happened in other countries as well. Watchtower must pay these benefits. This raises the issue of whether any benefits will ever be paid to other full-time JWs across the globe who deserve them equally. And this is a good point. I think all over the world, all of the Bethels, they should have social security benefits. So if they're ever kicked out of Bethel, or they ever they get old and just leave, that they have some social security benefits that Bethel is paying into. And I think this is such an important thing. It should be pushed all over the world. Now back to the article. Watchtower is watching its assets in Russia vanish while paying settlements in the US and elsewhere for child abuse, mishandling, and other legal cases. Watchtower has taken over responsibility of all Kingdom Halls worldwide, but many sit in despair, awaiting renovations in excess of what congregations can afford. So it's just a mess all over the world when it comes to their property. So Russia's taken over all the assets that the U.S. any U.S. asset, of course, and the child abuse, all the child abuse mishandling, all the legal bills in this child abuse. And now we see the Pennsylvania case, and we see all these other cases coming to the fro. So, and even Watchtower's own lawyer, Lumley or whatever his name is, he himself is being sued. So for lying in court, so 170,000, 150,000, something like that. Now, there is a dissent in South Africa right now, and this is back to the article, because of the fixed per capita amount assigned to each publisher who attends a circuit assembly. Many elders have questioned this vocally and have described the amount of money charged to each circuit as an invoice. This does not sit well with many elders, particularly those in less than affluent areas. Watchtower has dispatched a team of elders to correct their thinking and their accounting procedures. Now, as far as I can remember, the Watchtower would take all the expenses of a circuit assembly, and if they owned the hall, the circuit assembly hall, which they owned in my area here in Canada, well, then they'd take all the expenses throughout a year and they'd divide it up between people or head counts and people coming in and using it. And it was a huge amount of money. And you'd think that for an organization, they got such a good deal and all the volunteered labor. This is what blew me away, because I knew I donated thousands of dollars worth of my own equipment in the security and fire alarm business to the assembly hall. And and all these other brothers did too. They took their trades. If they were roofers, they'd come in and donate all their money and even buy materials. And then at the end of the day, we were invoiced something like $15,000 every weekend that we used that assembly hall. It was a huge amount of money, and this is what's happening. So brothers are speaking up, but now teams of elders are coming in to correct their thinking. So Watchtower treats this all as a business. So here we go back to the article. Watchtower is in the process of implementing a new records management program, along with a destruction of documents procedure, which is designed to ensure that no documents exist which would tie Watchtower to any legal responsibility or repercussions. And we did a video on that. The records management overseer related an experience where, on one hand, a written note cost the Watchtower $200,000. And we had that in that video simply because a JW elder at headquarters was honest and produced a written document which tied the Watchtower to a major litigation case with a prior vendor. And, you can think even the Watchtower, they're burying their own chemicals in their own grounds. We did a video on that. They were caught doing that. So they do a lot of illegal things. Now, here it goes on to say the Watchtower has made it clear that these records are to be destroyed according to their new records management and destruction procedures. So here, Watchtower wants all written records destroyed so that they hold no legal liability with the courts. Now, does that not tell you that this is a dishonest organization? In front of God, when God looks down at this organization, what does God see? That's the real question. So now, beginning in 2018, JW.org will implement a program in which every single JW will be assigned a database number, and their information will be in JW.org's global database. We did a video about that they're tracking you. Currently in the US, JW.org has just 40% of their publishers registered in the JW.org database system. All Jehovah's Witnesses will be given a number and tracked unless we can stop this invasion of privacy here in the US and around the world. Now, just so you know, there's a protest, Be Free 2023, and that is coming up here on October 31st in front of the White House. And all you have to do is go Be Free, BEFREE 2023.com, and you'll get their website. We show that in our descriptions in all of our videos, so you can click the link and quickly get to their website. So now, this has to be stopped all around the world, this invasion of privacy, and it can only be stopped by protesting. Now, Watchtower is very upset and concerned about all the leaks coming from their headquarters. They use Office 365 now and embedded data into PDF files in an attempt to track where the leaks are coming from. They have been issuing subpoenas from the Southern District of New York to various internet providers in the US along with Google Inc. in an attempt to track down the source of the leaks and identify the individuals involved in leaking their literature and videos. Watchtower demands their freedom of speech but attempts to deny it to those sharing their publicly available materials, which, by the way, are not being distributed for monetary gain. So even though Stephen Lett gets up there and we're broke, give us your estate. The Watchtower continues to try to plug these leaks like the proverbial dam in Holland, but they are running out of fingers and attorneys to plug these leaks. We have far more than they realize we have, and there is nothing they can do to stop the flow of information outside of the headquarters. It's not what we post on avoidjw.org that should worry Watchtower. It's what we don't post. So the CART witnessing program is finally beginning to backfire. Witnesses are being approached and asked hard-hitting questions about child abuse, shunning, other matters. And when you stand in the public square and represent a religion, it's just a matter of time before the public connects the dots and the carts are sent to the junkyard, one at a time. In Canada, the United States, Ireland, Australia, the Netherlands, and multiple other countries, the government and media are taking notice of the public outcry for justice for abuse victims, to the victims of the imposed and mandated shunning. The Supreme Court of Canada will rule this year in a case involving shunning and discrimination, and if the Watchtower loses this case, the repercussions will be felt worldwide. Now, that was a case that came out of Calgary. We covered it in one of our other videos, and the fellow lost against the Watchtower because you can't sue them for shunning, because there's a lot of organizations that shun. There's Mennonites, there's Amish, there's Hutterites, there's whatever. Lots of organizations have shunning policies, and we can't sue for that. But what we can sue for, we're going to have that's our next article. And we're going to cover, can I sue Jehovah's Witnesses? So, yes, you can. Now, yes, money is a problem for the Watchtower. Yet the governing body members like Samuel Hurd have publicly stated how beautiful their new surroundings are at Bethel and how they hear the birds chirping as they observe the serene landscape of upstate New York. Meanwhile, Jehovah's Witnesses in Russia have been imprisoned for following the governing body's directives. And young Korean witnesses languished in prison for no reason. And JWs in Eritrea, I don't know if I said that right, Eritrea, have been rotting away in prison cells, some for decades, while the coalition of overweight business class flying governing body members feign tears for the men and women who are effectively their slaves. And isn't that the truth? So here the governing body is on this lavish 6-star resort upstate New York with the birds singing all around them. Well, all these brothers and sisters are in prison in Russia and dying in different parts of the earth just for the governing body, just for their homage. So, like Stockholm Syndrome victims, Jehovah's Witnesses continue to support the only organization they think has the answers, identifying with and revering their captors, men who have little sympathy for the victims of child abuse, shunning, or death by blood policy. Governing body members Jeffrey Jackson callously stated in the 2015 before the Royal Commission in Australia that he had not even read the details of the victims who had testified before the commission. He focused on his defense, like a narcissist who believes they are the center of the universe, unable to emphasize with real people with real problems. Now, if you watch that, Jeffrey Jackson lied, and he was asked point blank, "Are you the only true organization?" And he said, "Well, that would be presumptuous." But yet, in every Watchtower article, they proclaim to be God's only chosen agents, and everyone else is part of Satan's world. Jeffrey Jackson perjured himself in court. It's all over everybody's articles. It's so clear. So, and he said it. Now we carry on. Tony Morris declared on multiple occasions that he was incensed with the European trousers for men designed by homosexuals he hates so passionately, and followed this triad by producing the side-by-side photo of what proper trousers look like versus tight pants. In a recent private video for Bethel members only, this war against questionable pants, socks, and tights was restated, with Watchtower doubling down on matters which would baffle Jesus himself if he were here to walk the earth today. And now Tony Morris, of course, he's gone, and there's been indication that perhaps his son had something to do with it. So more and more information will be coming out because of all of this. And here it goes on to say, the lawsuits are piling up, the fines are compounding, the public awareness of Watchtower's dangerous and controlling cult influence on followers will become a spectacle in 2018. And with multiple documentaries being filmed, protests being organized, news reports being written, and lawsuits being filed, Jehovah's Witnesses can choose to buckle up and attempt to survive the crash, or they can release that belt and get the hell out of the vehicle, which is about to catch on fire. How long will all of this take? It's hard to say. But I will say this: each one of us can play a part in sharing what we know with the public. Find some websites which you believe are honest and accurate and share them. Find some books which are truthful and sincere and share them. Tell your story. Show your compassion for those still trapped. There are millions trapped inside with inside a mental prison, but we can help them out. Let's make it happen. So this is what we're doing. We have the Be Free, as I said, coming up October 31st. Also in this email, in this video, in the descriptions, you'll see a quick link to a Canadian petition that we have here in Canada. and to stop treating these organizations like charities, such as happened in Norway. And we did a video on Norway and how Jehovah's Witnesses are no longer a charity there, and for the obvious reasons of shunning. And then when we compound this with all of the shootings that have taken place in the last year, we see that there's huge problems. And then the mass shootings that happened in Germany, the mass shooting. So this is all under investigation. There's reports that in Germany, they are investigating the church, and they will be investigating the shunning policy. So there's more news to come, folks. Now, one of the questions a lot of people have is, can I sue Jehovah's Witnesses? Can I sue them for trespassing, harassment, for abuse? Well, the answer is yes. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe, because I am in the process of making a video on this very subject. One of the other questions that comes up is what's happening in Canada regarding the class action sexual abuse within Jehovah's Witness. So we're going to do a video covering that and to see what's happening within that class action lawsuit. So stay with us, folks. And until next time, keep living your life with love. Bye for now.